Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by lineups.com. Nate and Josh here on Wednesday with y'all. 9 games in the association. We're going to be taking a look at some best bets on the sides and totals. Also got some player prop bets in here as always, so make sure you are subscribed to that channel. Continue to follow along the rest of this season with us. Let's kick it off with a game that we both are happy to talk about here as the Hornets are on the road against Memphis. No Ja. Hornets rolling. -2. What do you got, Nate?
Yeah, what stinks about this line, man? I mean, it seems kind of square, but it seems very obvious that the hottest team in the league, at least according to net rating, in their last 12, coming off an absolute whooping of the Sixers on an afternoon game and now a short travel over to Memphis. Not really a tough spot for the Hornets. Memphis just played with the Rockets, who will leave you a little black and blue, even if Steven Adams isn't out there. And just seeing what the Rockets did to Memphis is just like not really taking them too seriously. Thinking like their body language is like, we should be crushing this team. We're not. And then they just kind of put the clamps on them in the second half and like, yeah, easy win right here. And part of that is just shutting down the whole Cam Spencer experience, which he's a fun player. It might be good for fantasy or to get your assists, but after teams start to realize that like he's not really a threat to score, and then we can just stay home on everybody, should be pretty easy to defend. And Charlotte is number 3 limiting assists in this span. They're also number 2 defensive rating, opponent field goal percentage, very good limiting threes. So Spencer's kickouts might not be super available. You just got a couple of young wings around him. Jaren Jackson Jr. is playing well defensively, but the Grizz struggle to guard the corner 3, right? And that's where Charlotte has been making hay with Knipple and Brandon Miller playing lights out. It's just no reason not to take this. It's like, sure, if the NBA surprises you and Memphis wins this game, great. But this line seems incorrect at face value.
Yeah, I mean, I also wanted to talk about this one enough that I'm in agreement with you, and this is one of my best bets for sure on the side. I like as far as what Charlotte's doing to win, like they're gonna I think just continue to suffocate everything Memphis does without Ja. Like if Ja could get down and get downhill against this team, get out into transition and get up, basically beat the defense that's playing really well on the perimeter. Once you get past that, like yeah, you can get to the rim. There's nobody that you trust to do that. So like Cam Spencer's, drive and kick stuff isn't necessarily going to work against a team that's continuing to just limit everything as far as spot up goes, as far as the catch and shoot goes. They've been in the top 5 limiting catch and shoot stuff in that 10 game span. You mentioned the 12 games. They've been really, really good. I even was just looking at last 10, even the last 5, like every snippet, they're the best team in the league net rating wise, 4-1 in their last 5 as well. And yeah, the getting back on defense for them has been really, really good. So I don't really know even if Ja was out there if the transition would work, but it is something where if you get down low and you get to the rim, there's not much of a rim protector, especially when Kalkbrenner's out there. And Musa getting more minutes is great. He's not the best rim protector by any means. He's going to get fouls too often if he tries to do that, but there's really no one you worry about at this point in terms of how Memphis is scoring now. They have a really nice assist percentage when they're playing with Cam Spencer. They have one all season because Ja and Cam are able to find guys in different ways. Ja breaking down the defense, Cam just sort of orchestrating things and making the right plays. But yeah, and being a pretty tall point guard helps. But love Cam. The assists are silly high. I don't know how to get there with Memphis at this point. So yeah, I think this is an easy call for Charlotte. But
yeah, and I mean the national TV game to open up here got an interesting little way to play this Lakers Cavs game is say it's going under. The total keeps drifting up because Evan Mobley's out. It's at 236. So this is probably even a better number if you were to parlay this, or you can go adjust the under up to like 245 and still be at plus money here with Luka to just drop 30. Luka to just continue the tear he's on. 30 points in something like 8 of his last 10 here. 25 points is pretty much a lock, and that also gets you to even money with this total. The reason I think it's going under, Mobley being out is scary because he's so essential to what the Cavs do defensively, but that's only going to play into what Luka wants to do, which is, probe into the middle, right? Soften up that defense, hit mid-range shots. Jared Allen's not going to scare him down there. And when it's a Luka-dominated game, it's a lot slower. And the Lakers in general are picking and choosing their spots to run, but they're generally playing slower. 97 pace in this last 5 where they've been on the road for a while. 110 defensive rating, which is a lot of just JJ Redick voodoo and scotch tape and whatever else he does to somehow make the Lakers look good in all sorts of metrics, despite the fact that their personnel is not great and they look bad at many times here. But since getting Marcus Smart and Rui in the lineup consistently, they've had more versatility defensively. These teams are top 3 in limiting corner threes. These teams are both playing really well defensively. I mean, Cleveland's down to 96 in pace and 107 defensive rating their last 5 against not OKC. Again, that's no Mobley, but also with no Garland, you're looking at 8 points per game fewer for the Cavs. So that's why it seems like a lower scoring game. And Donnie, I mean, he would have to continue his superhuman stretch here, which is totally possible. And I'm not saying the Lakers have a Donnie stopper, but when you just take these high degree of difficulty shots and the offense is a lot of like, save us, Donovan, like eventually that's got to regress to the mean to a degree. Like he's not going to hit every step back 3. Right. And I think that's really the only way this game gets totally silly is if Mitchell continues to drop 36 at like a 50% clip. Otherwise, I think it's going to go under, and I think Luka has to carry this Lakers offense as he's been doing.
Yeah, makes sense to me. I didn't even spend that much time looking at the side or total for this game. I do think there's props for it, and under would make a bit more sense, especially with who's going to be out there for Cleveland, like you're talking about. But Luka 30 plus seems it's just a walking occurrence these days with how much they depend on him, obviously, and he wants it that way, man. But moving to this the Golden State Jazz game real quick, I'm looking at this going over. It's the Jazz at home for sure. We can just, we talked about it a number of times. I know there's been a bit of a dip here and there for them at home over the last like 5 or 6. But also I'm looking at the Warriors coming in with the team that they have at this point. I kind of like the Jazz to cover, by the way, plus 9.5. That's what I believe of the Dubs right now. Like they're reeling for a reason. Looks like they're going to be likely without Kuminga once again. And we know Jimmy's out as well. And when you look at the way that they played now, like one of these last 5, obviously Jimmy played and then left in the game that I'm sorry, and Kuminga's out, by the way. I want to be clear, he was officially ruled out. But when you look at the way that they played without him in roughly, let's call it their last 5, essentially, it's not pretty on offense. So it makes you scared that they're not going to get there. But when you look at the way they played against teams that are playing fast pace, like they played Minnesota twice. So let's just at least give that the caveat it deserves. And then look at the Dallas team that's been playing really well on offense and playing really fast. Played Toronto and got smacked, but gave up the 145. I don't know where the defense is coming from at this point. It's Draymond Green, who is just not even the same guy that he was once when he could be Ed Reed all over the floor. This doesn't have it quite as much. And he has to make up for a lot more than he ever had to when there were guys like Iguodala and Andre Bogut playing beside him, and they had rim protectors and they had long rangy wing defense. Even Harrison Barnes comes to mind. But at this point, it's not that. It's going to be some combination of guys playing about 20 to 25 minutes between Pat Spencer, Moses Moody, Brandon Podziemski. 1 to 2 of those 3 guys is on the floor consistently. That's why their defensive rating over the course of the last 5, even with games where they've only given up 100 points to Minnesota, 108, gave up 85 to Minnesota in the game before, where they kind of came out with that win one for the Gipper and everybody was out for Minnesota as well. It's not a good spot for them. Like I said, I would take the plus 9.5, and the way that they're playing fast as hell with Utah playing the way they do at home, I do think this game gets over in the 240s.
Yeah, we know Keontae George is going to be back for the Jazz after resting a game, which we diagnosed last night as that's going to tank their offense. And sure enough, it does. That's what they want to do. But when Keontae's out there, he's been absolutely prolific on offense. So, I mean, I definitely am on board with the over in that sense. Probably get Markkanen out. You get Nurkic in, which actually has been better for overs for the Jazz, despite the fact that he's a big body there defensively. He's been a hub for them offensively, and I think kind of helps keep that thing flowing in terms of Keontae and the other guards scoring. Looking at this Rockets Spurs game for props, and I mean the total was, I think, opened incorrectly low at 217. I was going to be attacking that over. It's up now to 222, and I think Durant, big reason why. I'm not scared by the fact that he scored only 18 against the Spurs just last week. That game was weird, and KD, he was a little deferential. They forced it out of his hands a little bit. 7 dimes for him, only 12 shots. Since then, he's been high usage KD, 34 points a game, 29% usage, hitting 4.7 threes at 50%. So, I mean, if you can't get this number at 25 plus, you might want to add just 2 threes and get the 25 plus, because some books have it at over 25 and a half. I'm considering just going with the threes because you got to pull on the perimeter against a Wembanyama team, right? I mean, they know that do the Spurs, and they push out and they limit above the break threes, but he's KD. I mean, you can't really limit him. You can't stop him from shooting a three when he wants to. And I think he'll still be scoring because they funnel all these shots to the mid range, fourth most in their last 7 while limiting these above the breaks. And that's where KD can just pump fake, get in there. And again, you're not bothering his shot unless you're Wemby. But he's going to be glued to Şengün, who, it's basically just the offense of Şengün and Durant. And if Şengün does not have a favorable matchup, we expect Durant to pick up that slack. But going back to the mid-range thing, fourth most attempts. Number 2 is Philly, and we saw Durant drop 36 on Philly. Number 3 is Portland, and Durant go for 30 and 37 back-to-back games. 54% field goal against these teams that funnel you to the mid-range and think that's the best shot to give up in the NBA. And it's true for most guys. It's not true for maybe the best mid-range scorer of the modern era.
Yeah, that's fair. Mid-range everywhere too. So yeah, I think there's gonna be different ways for him to get his points, and he knows how crucial he is to the offense that's really slumps when he's not out there on the floor. So I'm gonna go to Sticks. Jalen Smith over here. I'm always looking for who's playing against the Pacers so that I can take their rebounds. Pacers give up the most rebound opportunities in the league. They miss a lot of shots. They've been playing pretty fast. Really nice recipe for the other team to get boards. Also give up a good amount of offensive boards. Like the centers that they're running out there aren't the best rebounders, as we know. Like J Huff getting those minutes. Really good player in a lot of other ways, honestly. I'll call him a good player in a lot of other ways, in some other ways, just not rebounding. So when Sticks is out there now in the starting lineup, he's been getting high 20s. He does touch into the 30s as well whenever, really. I think we've seen Vooch sort of start to sort of slide back in his minutes. I don't know if they were still hoping to get some trade value out of Vooch at some point or not. Maybe they're keeping him slightly on the shelf because the day has finally come where he will be traded. I'm not totally sure what's going on in Chicago. I just know Sticks is playing a lot and Zach Collins isn't around. And with that, there's nothing that's really changed over these last 5 games to today that would make me go, well, no, maybe there's going to be a decrease now for him in those minutes. If you look at what I would consider like the closing line, the fair market number, the lines that have been closing and what the market has dictated his rebounds should be at consistently recently, it is about 8.5 now where it's closing. And that's really against like neutral opponents. I take this opponent and I go, give him at least one more, like 1.5 more rebounds projection for him based on playing just the Pacers alone. When you look at the bigs that have rebounded against them lately, I believe it is, there's an increase of about 22% each of these guys, and they're against their season averaging about 1.2 more rebounds than their season averages over the last 15 games with these centers that they played. It's been that way all season. I've got the last 15 just to cover it, but yeah, it's all season for this team. So I love Sticks to get maybe even a double if you can get it close to 2-1.
Yeah, I looked up the projection for him. I think it's 11 rebounds according to some like punch in projections. So I mean, yeah, this number juiced up for a reason. The double is definitely in play because the threes have been in play. I like danced around going between Jalen Smith and Giddey to last game for the Bulls, and I was like, I just couldn't find the data for the Lakers to give up threes, but it didn't matter. I mean, Smith he went 3 for 3 from 3. Like he is just ridiculously consistent. He's a guy you can tell really worked on that shot in the offseason, and he's knocking them down. Going to your Dubs game, though, I mean, I liked DeAnthony Melton at surface level. I liked the whole bundle of props, but the assists is really what I like, and it's just so low, and it's plus money. So let's just take 3 assists here. I mean, he's probably only going to play 20 to 25 minutes because basically everyone on the Warriors only plays 25 minutes. That's just what they do. But he's been very high usage, 35% or higher usage in 4 of his last 6 outings, and he's plus 92 over those 6 outings. And there's been an obvious spike in terms of his playmaking because Jimmy Butler went down halfway through that. He was getting 3.7 potentials in the 3 before Jimmy got injured, and now he's at 5.7 potentials in the 3 since. Second best assist to pass ratio in that span. I mean, he's just extremely athletic. That's why you consider the rebounds at 5.5 RA here because he's got a 6'9" wingspan for a 6'2" dude. Probably going to see a big bump in minutes because Keontae George is active and he's a good defensive option on him. And he's rested. I mean, he sat Monday, right? The game was postponed before that. Now going up against a Jazz team that just is the worst assist defense in the league, that's allowing the most corner threes at the highest percentage by like a wide margin in their last 10. So Melton, who can attack the basket, potentially score on that weak Jazz interior defense, but also just get in there and kick to, maybe the greatest shooter of all time. That would be a good guy to kick to. I mean, but that's how you turn potential assists into actual assists.
Is there someone rival like that's actually challenging Steph for greatest shooter of all time now that I wasn't aware of? I think we can.
Sorry for throwing the maybe in there.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, that's all I needed. I like the look here. I think it's sort of a sneaky good look with a guy that maybe you don't expect to get dimes, but I love when you have like 1.5, 2.5 assists for a guy who's out there with touches. One of the few guys that you start to trust. Like it's almost like they had to trust Buddy Hield last year because DeAnthony Melton wasn't around, right? He got hurt, then got traded, then came back. They always wanted him to be the guy that was like, well, we trust him as a guy on the floor without Steph, with other guys around him, right? And that's still the case. And that was pre-Jimmy that they trusted him and needed him that bad. He could have been so good for this team in the last like 2 seasons if he didn't get hurt. And he's finally like able to show some of that. But let's go to Onyeka, taking over 15.5. Projections for me here closer to 17.5. Really, I think like 17.8 or so is what come up with when look at a little bit of points per minute. You look at the situation, who he's playing without, obviously still KP. Even Ricochet has actually being out has actually helped Onyeka a bit in terms of the threes. He's shooting a few more, like half a three more per game when he's not without Zachary Ricochet around. And then, I mean, the situation is like, yeah, they're playing the Celtics, really good squad, really, really good limiting centers, really good limiting down low. Neemias Queta's not playing. That is not a thing that I thought I would ever have to say as like a big deal for the Celtics, but that defense is so reliant on his tenacity down low. And the fact that he's not afraid to actually like foul when he needs to, which would help when you have a guy like Onyeka who's okay at the foul line. But I do think he'll be able to handle whether we're seeing Luka Garza. It looks like he's in now. I guess maybe we'll see some Xavier Tillman as well. Like nobody that I'm talking about really scares me when I'm talking about Onyeka being able to score both down low and from three. That's the Ricochet thing I'm talking about, and the effect of having a few less spot up shooters these days for this squad. Obviously, Kispert coming in for a few minutes, but not really playing much with the starting lineup like Onyeka is. So the stuff for him, the touches have been high enough that's a part of the projection increase for him. A guy that you might normally have at 15.5, I bump up to 16 to 17. Like I said, that should be the projection based on the usage and the touches that he's seen, even though in the last 3 to 4 games, that's jumped up to being like third on the team in the front court, and somebody that you really trust to be able to rely on the usage.
Yeah, I think the opportunities will be there because the Celtics defensive strategy is often like, we're going to let certain guys shoot, right? And you're not going to let the Alexander Walker, McCollums, Kennard, and Kispert, like those are the guys they're going to identify as like, do not let him shoot, but we're fine if Onyeka wants to hoist like 6 threes. And when he does that, it usually correlates with him going more like 18, 20 points than this number.
It's a really good point. I'm starting to like the threes more because of the way that the Celtics do prioritize making sure that guys can't get all the way to the rim, right? There's not going to be too many guys like Tillman or Garza or whomever that they're going to want to come out there and chase Onyeka in the corner when he takes those. So I kind of like that sneaky look as part of the threes as well. But that is all the time we have for you guys in this one. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel, coming back to you each and every weekday this week. Plenty of games each night. I love that we don't have like a random dinky slate. We've got like 7 games full of stuff to go. So we'll see you the rest of this week. And until then, happy betting.